Hey guys, we are here in Raleigh, North Carolina at Audio Advice. I'm here with Scott Newnham, the CEO, and we're here a few days before your live event, Audio Advice Live, but you invited me over to the showroom to check out some new home theater seats.
Yeah, we're super excited about these, and super glad you came in a couple of days early so we can do some fun stuff together. As you know now, having sat in these for a little bit, we spent a lot of time working on these things and try to come out with what we think is the ultimate home theater chair.
Well, I love home theater seating, and the biggest reason is because you're going to be sitting for hours watching your favorite movie, maybe sitting and listening to music, or just kind of hanging out with a family. And so I'm always a big proponent. Find some seating that's comfortable, has the feature set that you need, and we're going to talk about all of the features, and you've spent a lot of time designing these, really just kind of crafting the perfect seat. And so we're going to dive through all of this. And so let's just start off with the leather. Tell me a little bit about the leather here.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Years ago, what everyone was looking for was, I want this grade of leather, or that grade of leather. And the challenge would be as you went up higher grades of leather, it was easier to tear it or hurt it, and it was more expensive. Now, everybody wants what they call Tesla vegan leather.
Right.
And so this is basically the same thing as Tesla vegan leather. So if you've got a Tesla, you'll know what that feels like. But it's more environmentally friendly. We're not, killing animals to provide this. It also gives a uniform feel, as you've seen. It breathes really, really well. And if you spill on it, it's super easy to clean up.
Yeah. And I have 4 kids. Now, of course, they're older, but they still love coming in the theater room. And when I first got my theater, my very first rule, no food in the theater room. You know how long that lasted?
A day.
It did it. And so we know that we're going to have kids, we're going to have family. We want to have snacks and popcorn. So to be able to clean these and wipe these down and not have that kind of get embedded into it, that's definitely a great, great feature. So I love the feel of these. They're super, super soft. I really like the design of these. So let's talk about some of the features. And so we've got recline capability, we've got lighting, and most of that is taken care of right here in the cup holder. So let's walk through some of those.
Yeah, so when you design a chair, and obviously we've sold thousands of different home theater chairs, and you've sat in probably thousands of home theater chairs.
Quite a few of my home theater tours.
There's 2 or 3 ways that you can deal with controls, but the 2 primary ways are you can put them in the side of the chair, which is a little bit less expensive to do, so that's the pro of doing it. Yeah. The con is you can't see the buttons, and so you're fumbling around trying to figure out what you're going to push. The other way to do it is to put it in the cup holder itself. The pro to that is it's right at your fingertips, it's easy to control, you're not fumbling around at all. The con is it makes for a much more expensive cup holder, but ultimately that's what we wanted to put in this, was to do it the way all of our focus groups showed us people wanted it.
Sure. So you did some testing to find out what people wanted, what feature sets maybe that they were struggling with, maybe with even other manufacturers that they had seen and even experienced in their own home. And so you took all of that information and said, okay, what can we do to make this thing the best that it possibly?
That's exactly right. The entire chair took years of us seeing what people liked and didn't like. And, we survey our customers to find out. And actually, it's a really interesting point. There's a bunch of things if you ask people, what would you like in a chair? And they might say, I want heat, or I want massage, or I want blinking lights, all sorts of crazy stuff. But then when you survey people that actually have the chairs,
right?
What did you use and what did you like? That's a totally different set.
Sure.
So we focused on, okay, let's see everything people might like. Now, what do they really use and want in the end after they've had it? And massage and heat, people found it's too loud and it's really not going to do what a massage chair does and those types of things. But in the functionality of this chair, it was focused on that. And then what we did was we kept building. We'd sit in prototypes. We'd build, sit in a prototype and adjust it and then show them to focus group people, et cetera. So anyways, as you've seen, it worked out pretty well.
I love it. So we got all of our controls here. So these are all push buttons. So we've got our recline.
Yep.
So we'll take this. Now, one thing that's interesting about this, I noticed earlier, I reclined quite a bit. I want you guys to look at this. So most chairs would probably stop there. This one keeps going, Scott.
Correct. So this is also designed like other home theater chairs where there's only 8 inches from the back of the chair, so you can put it very close to the back of the room. However, we did something unique. We allowed the motor to take this to a full recline like a bed. And in the focus groups and talking to the customers, People said, I don't do it all the time, but there's times I just want to go all the way back.
Yeah.
I've got music playing
Yeah.
in that room, and I actually want to go sleep or chill out. And of course, the second set of buttons is to control your headrest. So if you do get back and you want to watch a movie, it brings up the headrest. And you and I were talking about earlier how we designed that headrest. And maybe you can describe it better because you've sat in a lot of these.
I have. I've done probably over 50 home theater tours, literally all across the U.S. and then some even international. And every chair is different. Some people use couches, some people use theater seats. But some chairs I've noticed when you increase the headrest, when you raise it up, it's on a swivel. So it's kind of locked in one position and it leans forward. And sometimes it, depending on how the chair is designed and the curvature of this support, it'll kind of pinch your neck. And so you have to lift up your head, let it finish, and then set it back and get kind of comfortable. What I like about this design is not only does it swivel up, but it seems like it rotates at a curvature. Is that
That's
correct?
right. Yeah. So there's generally 3 different ways you can cause this to work. One pushes like this, one is your flip, and one is this what we call the 45-degree angle solution, which provides that ergonomics that work not just well what you're experiencing here, like, oh my gosh, this is really cool, but also for shorter people and taller people, it's a benefit.
So we've got our recline, come back to normal. We've got our headrest, and then we've got a lumbar here. Now you spent a lot of time developing this lumbar. So tell me kind of what makes this kind of so special and unique.
Yeah, so in one of the prototypes we got back of the chair, and we had a lot of people say, this is it, we're done. We've built it, let's release it. We kept focusing on how to nail the lumbar because we've sat in a bunch of lumbar chairs, we've sold chairs that have lumbar, et cetera. And we wanted a lumbar, depending on the curvature of your spine, you need to be able to go pretty far back, where for some people, they don't want it pushed out very far, and other people, it needs to come out pretty far, and it needs to come out in the right angle. So anyways, we essentially made a rounded sort of poly material that goes over the lumbar and allows it to pull all the way back. But, there's nothing like experiencing it. You felt it.
Yeah.
It just comes out totally naturally and goes back. And anyways, 6 months of just focusing on that is what held up this launch that you're seeing.
So instead of just throwing whatever is in there, you're like, look, we want to, again, I love the heartbeat behind these seats. We don't want to just manufacture something that everybody else has. We want to produce something that works and works well. And we don't want to just focus on one aspect of it. We think that every piece of this is important to customers.
Yeah, that's right. So the next piece, if you go down your buttons here, and you'll notice, you and I were talking about this before, we put them in an order that makes total sense.
Yep.
Order 1 is, you're sitting there, because maybe you have all your LED lights off or lights off in the room, is recline. The next one, okay, I'm in the right recline position. Now I want to put my head where it should go. So depending on where your screen is, how far up you'll pull it. Right. And then the natural thing is, now I want to set my lumbar where I want to go.
Correct.
The next button after that is LEDs. And you and I talked about how we've done something different in here than almost everyone else out there.
Yeah, and I've never seen a company do this. So I'm really excited about this. So you guys know LED lighting is fun, but when you're watching a movie, most of the time you don't want them on. And so what I love that you guys have done is I can hit it once, turns them on, so we have LED lighting not only on the outside, but it looks like on the inside too. That looks
That's right. So when you have a cup in here, it lights up
kind
in
of
the cup.
glow. Oh, nice. I love it. So you've got the LED lights on the outside, on the inside, but then of course we have LED lights under the footrest. But here's where it's really, really unique is that we have dimmable now.
Right.
And there's 3 different settings? 1, 2.
Yep. And then the third one
off.
goes off.
Yeah. So you've got a bright, you've got kind of a medium, and then a low setting, and then you can turn them all off. Love, love, love that feature. Most people is just on and off. It's a toggle. And most of the time when you're watching a movie, you don't want them on because it's distracting. And especially if you recline, and I asked you this earlier because again, I want to know, because this, as a consumer, this is what bugs me is when you turn them on, you do see the LED light high on your screen, but by dimming that down, when I go to the lowest setting, I don't see it.
Yeah.
So that, again, just so much detail and thought behind and the why and how do we make this the best that we possibly can make. Love that feature.
Yeah. So then the final button on here is the home button, and it's designed with a safety feature in it, which is you hold the home button to put everything back in its original position. So you don't hit it, and maybe you had a baby or something below, you hit it once and the motors are cranking.
Or your dog's under there.
Yeah, or whatever else it is.
Where'd Fluffy go? He's been under your seat for the past. So we just press and hold it, and that does the head, the lumbar, as well as the recline back to normal.
Yep, back to normal position.
I love it. So we got that taken care of. Now, there's something interesting here. I've never seen somebody do this. What's this little slot right here?
So this is a slot for USB, and you have the same challenge here in USB. If you embed it in the side, the problem is people that we would go to that had it in the side, and we've sold chairs and I'm on the side, they'd come back and say, well, I almost never use USB, but when I did, inevitably my leg hits the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever had that happen in yours, but it just, you can break it off or whatever else. And so we actually, interestingly, put a slider over it so the food doesn't get in.
Yeah. Keeps dust and trash from falling in there. And super, super smart.
Yeah, and honestly, we were talking about doing the testing. To be very honest about it, most people do not ever use USB charging in a seat. And I will say, actually, one of the interesting things, we looked at using wireless charging.
Okay.
And so one of the options was to put wireless charging in here. There's pros and cons to that, but the cons relate to the heating up of the phone and degrading the battery, and then what it does to all the other ergonomics. So I won't bore you with all the details. The end result is this was the best way to give it to the 1% of people that do want to charge while they're in their chairs.
Right. All right, so moving a little forward of that, we've got this nice solid unit here. So we're pretty familiar with that, but kind of walk us through, because again, you've made some very specific design choices on this for, what do we call that? The accessory port, the accessory?
Yeah, so this grommet allows you to take a tray table. Every tray table fits in the armrest, it sits down there. And it allows you to drop it into any chair. Every single chair comes with a tray table. So one of the things our surveys told us
these
was—
aren't extra.
These are not extra.
Awesome.
No. Well, this is actually really interesting. When you go to the surveys and you find out 95% of the people wish they had tray tables.
They want them.
They want them.
But they don't want to pay for them.
Yeah. So we literally, it's cheaper if we're trying to make the chair the best chair possible, but charge the best price possible. It's better to manufacture every chair, and when it comes out of the manufacturing plant, it's already embedded in the armrest. So if you buy these chairs, just know you're like, oh, where's the tray table? It's in the armrest. You'll open up the armrest, it's there.
Perfect.
So it's designed to sit in any of these grommets. It comes out, and we really spent a lot of time on this. You've seen the rectangular tray tables.
Right, correct.
And the rectangular ones,
They're slippery usually.
they're incredible. Yeah. So you've experienced.
I'll be honest, I'm scared to eat on them or put a glass on them. I always have to put it on here, but the challenge there is if I put my tray table here, then that covers this, and I'm kind of stuck.
Correct. And that's a design that we really wanted to overcome in two ways. One, you and I looked at this, before we jumped in here shooting this. We've done this neoprene type cover on this thing that essentially holds your food or popcorn, and then we've indented a place for the drink. And so the design of this is that unlike the rectangular ones, it's bigger, it's oval, and it essentially holds your food on there and drinks, so you don't have to worry about knocking them over. Yeah. But it can spin all the way because of the shape.
Sure.
If you recline, it can spin back to you.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But also, as you noted earlier, if you spin it forward, you got a place for your cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we've got a little raised edge here. So again, if it does kind of shift a little bit, at least it's not going to hit the floor.
Correct. So it's obviously way more expensive to produce this type of tray table. But you think about people that use these things every single day, the amount it costs to produce a better tray table is totally worth it to someone once they're living with them.
Yeah. And I love the fact that I've heard you say that in this conversation several times. It's more expensive for us to do this way, but we know it's better for the consumer. We know it's more expensive to do this, but we know it gives a better user experience.
That's right.
I appreciate that, because that means that you're focused on the customer, not necessarily your bottom line.
That's at the end of the day, our question we asked our product dev team that worked on this is, do we all want these in our homes? Mm-hmm. And then everyone in our marketing team and our sales teams, do you guys want it in your home? If they came back and said, no, I want to change this, that's what we focused on. And we're super proud of, the design of the chair. And obviously you're sitting you've sat in a lot. And
Yeah.
even the foam we put in it, we did a loading base of the foam that if you've ever gone in a car, you can sit in a car that maybe doesn't have good seats. And the second you sit in, it feels really good.
Yeah.
But you drive in it for 3 hours
Sure.
and it's not firm enough.
Right.
And so we try to provide the firm base in here, and it's all about, can I sit in this for 3 hours and enjoy it?
Yeah. And again, you're thinking of the consumer that is watching a movie, 3-hour marathon or 6-hour or 9-hour, if they're getting ready for the latest, greatest movie that's coming out and there's previous sequels to it or prequels. And so just building that again around the customer, around their needs, and then doing that testing to find out what actually do people want and then addressing those in your seats. I love it. There's a couple other features I think on this, at least one that I think you had mentioned earlier is something back right in here in
Oh,
the 20.
yeah.
So tell
Yeah.
me about that. That's interesting.
So when you go out and survey people, you say, oh, what is it that you like and don't like about your chair? You get specific things back. But if you focus group it, I mean, you sit with people and you pull out of them, what you find out is people are constantly dropping crumbs and popcorn and so forth
Remotes.
in here. Yeah. And what you saw is that we've added a zipper in between the base and here that we're calling the food catcher.
Yeah.
And well, you've seen it. You can drop it. You drop stuff in it, and zoom. You just take a little vacuum, and it catches it, so it's not sitting under your chair for 2 years, kind of thing.
Every once in a while, I move them just to clean them, and it's embarrassing. It really, really is because it's nasty. So that's a great feature.
I mean, it's a tiny little thing, but when you get to the heart of people, like, oh yeah, man, I want it to be clean, and so forth. The other one that I think is like that actually doesn't cost a lot to add, but it's something most people don't add, is the clips between the chairs. So you have an option when you build a row of chairs. What you're really sitting in is a 2-arm chair and a 1-arm chair that are connected.
Correct.
And in most cases, you do not need to clip the chairs together. You can just set them together and they won't move. These things are about 115 pounds each. So, but if you didn't have carpet here, or you had carpet that was maybe slippery, or you were really jumping in these things hard, if you have a row and you clip them together, they don't move at all.
Right.
So we added little spin out clips that you can either use or not use. And so it's available. Again, most people don't even need them, but it's there if you want. And you slide the chairs together, they clip together, and obviously holds them in place.
And then, of course, we've got different configurations. You can do 2 seats, 3 seats, 4 seats. Do you sell an individual seat?
We do. Okay. So actually, great question. This is probably helpful for people as well that are, maybe you've never had a theater and you're thinking about getting chairs, and you're just trying to go through the learning process. When you get a row, you can buy a regular seat, which is 2 arms. Then generally you add a left arm and you connect left arms to a 2-arm until you end up with a full row.
Right.
You can create a love seat by putting a left arm and a right arm together, and in between there's nothing.
Sure.
People often ask us, well, should I do a love seat? Should I do a sofa? And generally what the data would say is this. Most people think it's really cool that 3-4 people are all going to snuggle up together on a couch. When they have to sit for a 3-hour movie, they want a chair and they want to be able to put their arms down like this. Yeah. So inevitably, if you look at the numbers, the vast majority of people want a row exactly as we're sitting in. So if we had another chair here, it would have one more armrest. The next group will generally do a love seat, and they will then add a chair on the right and left of the love seat. So you could have a 4-chair row. Sure. And in between is the love seat, so that each of you has a tray table where you've got your popcorn and your drink. Sure. And so imagine you and I are sitting here, but we've got nothing in between us. Right. If you start looking out, I want to go 3 and 4 rows with no place for tray tables or drinks, that the data would say that's not as successful.
Yeah. And again, going back to the feedback that you received. Well, Scott, you and your team have done an absolutely phenomenal job designing a really, really awesome theater seat with a ton of functionality and at a very affordable price point. So I'm excited for my audience. You guys, if you're interested in these seats, I'll have a link down in the description below. You can check out all the configuration, pricing's on there. And as you mentioned, they're available right now. So definitely go check those out if you feel that they're a good fit for your home theater. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. God bless, and we'll catch you in the next video.